Okay, students, today's class is on immune hemolytic anemias. We have already seen different types of hemolytic anemias, that is sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, etc. Now we'll see what is this immune hemolytic anemia. So what do you mean by the term immune? That is hemolysis which happens due to some antigen antibody reaction. So that is known as immune. Okay, immune, the term denotes some antigen antibody reaction is there. So where is this antigen? It is situated on the red cell membrane, the RBCs, and the antibodies will bind to this red cell membrane and cause lysis. So that is a basic underlying mechanism. Okay, so we classify immune hemolytic anemias into three types, that is autoimmune hemolytic anemias, alloimmune hemolytic anemias, and drug induced. Okay, we'll see autoimmune in today's class. Alloimmune will be dealt in another class. Okay, so that is autoimmune hemolytic anemias. They are group of disorders in which antibodies acts against self antigens on the RBC membrane. Why it is known as autoimmune? Autoimmune means antibodies will be produced in our body itself against our own antigens on the RBCs. So that is known as autoimmune disorders. All these conditions where antibodies are developed in our body against our own antigens. So that is known as autoimmunity. And this, in this hemolytic anemia, you have antibodies against RBCs. So that is autoimmune hemolytic anemias. Okay, so they are basically classified into, basic classification is actually into two types, that is warm antibody and cold antibody type. And the cold, again, it is getting divided into two types, that is cold antibodies which react below 37 degrees, and that is IgM antibody, whereas IgG antibodies are again classified in another subgroup, that is cold hemolysin type IgG antibodies. Okay, so basic classification is warm and cold. What is this warm and what is this cold? This temperature, the temperature difference is nothing but these antibodies. I told you there are antibodies which are developed in our body which acts against our own RBC antigens. These antibodies, they are active at certain temperatures. So based on that temperatures, they are classified into warm and cold. So the antibodies which are active at 37 degrees Celsius, and those conditions in which these antibodies which are active at 37 degrees Celsius are seen, they are classified under warm antibody type. And which is that warm antibody? That is IgG. You know already immunoglobulins, and you have learned in your physiology classes. Antibodies in our body are basically all immunoglobulins. Okay, so these immunoglobulins are nothing but proteins with heavy chains and light chains. Okay, there are 5 different immunoglobulins in our body. You have learned IgG, IgA, M, D, E, and E. Okay, GAMDE. These antibodies are the immunoglobulins. Okay, so of these, the warm antibodies are IgG type. Okay, which react at 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, and warm antibodies again classified as primary and secondary. Primary means there is no significant cause, it comes as such without any predisposing cause, whereas in secondary it is always secondary to some diseases, like some other autoimmune disorders like SLE, some drugs, some malignancies, some hematopoietic lymphomas. Okay, now the cold antibody type, I told you it can be IgM antibody type which reacts below 37 degrees Celsius. That is, can be acute and chronic. Usually this cold agglutinin type are basically the common cause is infections. Any infections like mycoplasma, that is one of the most common cause, mycoplasma infection, and infectious mononucleosis, and you will learn in another class. Now chronic causes, it can be idiopathic and due to some malignancies, lymphoid neoplasms. Now it can be either due to IgM or due to some IgG antibodies also. These IgG antibodies are very rare because I told you IgG antibody which reacts or active at 37 degree is the warm antibody type. So IgG in cold is very rare, but if it is there, it can be usually following viral infections. Okay. So that table you have to learn by heart. Now the warm active antibodies, they are the most common form of autoimmune hemolytic anemias, and it is usually IgG antibodies or complement. So to learn, IgG is for warm. So IgG for warm. Okay, that you have to learn by heart. Now complement is, it's you learn in your inflammation class later, the inflammation, and also in your microbiology classes there is a chapter on complement system. Okay, complement system is nothing but it is also a type of attacking mechanism of our body against microorganisms or any other proteins, antigens, etc. This complement system, it is a group of chemicals in our body which act which results in antigen antibody reactions. Okay, the net effect is that attack of that antigen, okay, and removal of that thing from our body. So that is a complement system. So this warm active antibodies, it can be IgG antibody or that complement. Okay, that is a chemical. It's a chemical in our body. So this I told you, idiopathic secondary, all this I have already told you. Lymphoid disorders, basically CLL. CLL also you have learned in another class of WBC disorders. So CLL also is another important cause. Now what is the pathogen? What is happening here in warm antibody type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia? So here you can see that red, that one is the RBC. So RBC will have some antigens, okay, and what happens, that Y-shaped structure is an antibody. Antibodies or immunoglobulins are represented by that Y-shaped structure, and this IgG antibodies will bind to the RBCs at 37 degrees Celsius. And what does this antibody coated RBC? It is taken to the spleen, okay, and there it is this RBCs, you know that RBCs usually it passes through the spleen, and after its lifespan, okay, it is getting destroyed in the spleen. So there what happens, the splenic macrophages will have the receptor for this IgG. So this receptor for IgG is there over the splenic macrophages. Okay, so this RBC bound with IgG will get attached to the FC receptors, FC portion of the receptors. Okay, FC portion of the IgG to the receptors, and that results in the phagocytosis of the RBCs. It will be taken by the macrophage where it is getting lysed. The RBCs are getting lysed, and what happens, a small part of this RBCs is getting removed, and that results in the formation of a spherocyte. So some RBCs will be completely destroyed, some RBCs will be partially broken, okay, and that results in a spherocyte. Spherocyte you have seen, it has a smaller size RBC without central pallor and with dark hemoglobin. Okay, now, okay, this is what I told you. IgG on RBC binds to the FC receptors with direct and complete phagocytosis. If it is partial phagocytosis, that results in spherocytes. Okay, and later it can undergo complete lysis also. What are the clinical features? Any hemolytic anemia, patient will present with pallor and jaundice because the RBC is lysed. What is the end product of hemoglobin? End product of heme is bilirubin. So the patient will have jaundice with mild to moderate splenomegaly because it is getting destroyed in the spleen. Okay, now so we will ask for a CBC, that is complete blood count, liver function test, LDH, etc. Liver function test is for bilirubin levels. Then CBC is for anemia, hemolysis to demonstrate anemia. Okay, LDH will be raised. What is LDH? It is usually raised in lactate dehydrogenase. It is usually raised when there is any lysis of cells, any cells. So here everything will be elevated. And what are these? This is These are all Haynes bodies. Okay, Haynes bodies and multiple that blue dots, they are all Haynes bodies. They are nothing but they are as a part of this hemoglobin disintegration. Now here in this wheel you can see multiple small spherocytes, microspherocytes with dark that RBCs. The color is very dark red in color compared to the normal RBCs, and plenty of polychromatic cells are also there. So this can be one picture you can see in autoimmune hemolysis. Now one test will that will aid, another test that will aid in your diagnosis. Sorry. Okay. So another test is direct Coombs test. What is this direct Coombs test? Here you're taking the patient's blood, okay, and if the patient's blood or RBCs are coated with your antibodies, the patient's blood is having that antibodies which we are suspecting. In case of autoimmune hemolytic anemia, we are suspecting that patient's RBCs are coated with antibodies. So we are taking that sample, and what do we do? The patient's RBCs are washed, okay, are washed, and they are incubated with anti-human antibodies. They are incubated with anti-human antibodies. What is that anti-human antibodies or anti-human globulin? It is also known as AHG. That AHG, anti-human globulin, is otherwise known as Coombs reagent. What is this anti-human globulin? They are nothing but that blue Y-shaped structures, that is Coombs reagent. These are directed against our IgG antibodies. Okay, so that is an antibody to an antibody. Okay, so that is anti-human antibody or anti-human globulin, AHG. So what happens if we are adding this Coombs reagent or this anti-human globulin? If the RBCs are already coated with IgG, that is, if the patient has an immune hemolytic anemia, his RBCs will be naturally coated with IgG. So if you want to demonstrate that his RBCs are coated with these antibodies, we can add this AHG, which will bind only to those IgG coated RBCs. Okay, so you can see last picture, the third part, you can see that these RBCs are getting agglutinated, okay, because they are getting interconnected by this Coombs reagent. This Coombs reagent will help to interconnect all these RBCs. Okay, they form links between these RBCs. So it can actually form a chain, or in other words, it is forming some agglutination. Okay, so that is known as agglutination. So that results in a positive test result. So that is known as a direct Coombs test or direct anti-globulin test. Anti-globulin means nothing but anti-human globulin, AHG. Okay, so that is known as a direct Coombs test positive. So what do you mean by a DCT positive? DCT is usually the direct Coombs test is it's termed as DCT. Okay, so if DCT is positive, that indicates that the patient's RBCs are having some antibodies coated. Okay, so that's clear. So that DCT is one of an important investigation for demonstration of this autoimmune hemolysis, especially this warm antibody type of hemolytic anemia. Now, treatment. So any underlying cause should get treated. The common drug which is used is steroids, which will remove all those antibodies. Splenectomy, in case of a huge spleen, you can do a splenectomy to prevent the destruction of RBCs. Immunosuppressive therapy, then blood transfusion in severe cases. Okay, that finishes warm antibody type of hemolytic anemias. Now we'll move on to the next one, that is the cold antibody type or cryopathic hemolytic syndromes. So that is caused by autoantibodies which binds to RBCs at temperatures below the body temperature, that is almost towards 0 degrees Celsius, just below the body temperature. Okay. So it can again same the classification, it can be again primary and secondary that I told you. Most common infection which you can get a cold antibody type of autoimmune hemolytic anemia is a mycoplasma infection. Don't forget that it is a mycoplasma infection which is very commonly associated. Now cold agglutinin disease, okay, that is what is in which we have this IgM which is active. That is commonly നിങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കുമ്പം IgG for warm and IgM for cold അങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ പഠിച്ചാൽ നല്ലത്. Okay, so IgM for cold, that cold agglutinin disease is nothing but this IgM antibodies which are directed against the I antigen on the RBCs. These RBCs will have lot of antigens other than your A, B antigens and Rh antigen. There are lot of other antigens also. So one of those antigen is I. So if antibodies are directed against this I antigen, that results in this cold agglutinin disease and IgM antibody type. And this cold hemolysis, for example, in paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria, that is another condition where the antibody is IgG type. And there is an antibody which is known as that antibody is named as Donat-Landsteiner antibody, which are directed against the P antigen on the RBCs. Okay, so cold agglutinin disease, you have IgM against the I antigen of RBC, and this paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria or the PCH, the Donat-Landsteiner antibodies that is IgG type, which are directed against the P antigen. Okay, and again it constitutes about 20% of AIHA, and IgM antibody directed against capital I and small I, both are different expression of the antigens. Okay, I antigen. Now what is happening here? Destruction, how is happening by the IgM antibody? Here again IgM antibody which is binding towards the RBCs at 4 degrees Celsius. It binds to RBCs at 4 degrees Celsius in the cooler parts of the circulation, and this in turn, this antigen antibody binding will activate complement also. That complement system in our body gets activated when these RBCs bind with this antibodies. Okay, and what happens later at warmer circulation at 37 degrees Celsius, if the blood is going to that warmer areas, this antibody will get dissociated from the RBCs. Okay, so only complement will be attached. Okay, antibodies will get dissociated, and later it will bind to Kupffer cell. Kupffer cell is nothing but macrophage you get in liver. The liver macrophages are known as Kupffer cells. Okay, so this Kupffer cell will bind to this this RBC bound with this complement. Okay, and the pathogenicity depends upon the antibody's ability to bind the host RBCs and to activate the complement. That is, this is actually a complement mediated lysis of RBCs. Okay, so this activation of complement, or that is known as a complement fixation, so that is a limiting step of this pathogenesis of cold agglutinin disease. And the primary cold agglutinin disease is usually seen in females, elderly. Okay, and if it is a monoclonal type, that is single clone of cells which develops into this IgM antibodies, that can even result in a B cell neoplasm. Okay, any B cell malignancies. Whereas secondary CAD, it is usually seen in younger adults. It can be polyclonal. Just remember few general points regarding this cold agglutinin disease. And clinical features, again, it can be a mild chronic hemolytic anemia with exacerbations in the winter. Okay, winter, because here it is the antibody that IgM is binding at 4, which is activated in cold. Okay, so acrocyanosis, that is the tips of the fingers, the tips of our body will get cyanosed. Raynaud's phenomenon, again the same thing. Pallor and jaundice, same, of other hemolytic anemias. Okay, you can see pallor, cyanosis of the tips of the fingers, tips of the nose. Okay, all these are Raynaud's phenomenon. Now, what are the laboratory investigations? Hemoglobin, I told you, it can be reduced. Reticulocyte count is elevated. Why? It is because there is hemolysis, you have increased amounts of uh, polychromatic cells or reticulocyte, because there is accelerated erythropoiesis. WBC platelet will be normal. DAT, what is DAT? That is direct agglutinin test, or that is nothing but direct antiglobulin test or Coombs test. Direct Coombs test is positive. Here also it is positive. Bilirubin can be elevated. LDH can be increased, that I told you. Complement and haptoglobulin will be low. That when you learnt about the approach to hemolytic anemias, haptoglobulin is a binding protein to hemoglobin. Okay, so that will be low or absent because that is used up. There will be hemoglobinuria, hemoglobinemia. Okay, and cold agglutinin disease, this is a peripheral smear picture. What was in the warm antibody type? Warm antibody type, you have single RBCs with spherocytes. Okay, you remember it was spherocytic type of peripheral smear picture. But whereas in cold agglutinin, you have these agglutinins, this clots of blood. Okay, you can see that clumps of RBCs in the peripheral smear. RBCs are getting aggregated. Okay, so that is a typical picture you get in cold agglutinin disease. And even if you collect blood of the patient at 4 degrees Celsius, that is, if you keep the sample in the fridge, it will be clotted. Whereas at 37 degrees Celsius, if you are heating it to 37 degree, it will be a loose normal blood. Whereas in 4 degree, it is getting agglutinated. It will not be like that in a normal person. Okay. And again, here also treat the underlying cause, avoid exposure to cold, and you can remove the excess antibodies by plasmapheresis. Now, a few words about paroxysmal cold hemoglobinuria. It is nothing but a cold type of antibody type of immune hemolysis, but here the antibody is IgG. That is the only difference, and that is directed against red cell antigen P. The patient will have intermittent attacks of pain, fever, and hemoglobinuria after exposure to cold. So, patient will have hemoglobin in the urine, red urine with exposure to cold. And usually it is viral induced. It can be viral induced in children with exposure to cold. It can precipitate. Okay, whereas in elderly it can be idiopathic. There is no non-cause. Okay, so haptoglobin, again the same findings you will get, except for you can see that hemoglobin which is present in the urine, okay, which is positive for hemoglobin, methemoglobin, dark red to black in appearance. Okay, Donat-Landsteiner test is actually not needed for you. This is, if you want to know, you can read it. Patient serum, if it is kept in melting ice with combined with washed O group, the P positive RBCs and the fresh normal serum is again incubated. Okay, and the on second incubation at 37 degrees Celsius with appropriate controls, we can see this lysis. Okay, because there is lysis which is happening at 37 degree because it is IgG type. Initially it was a binding which is happening in the cold, but here at incubation at 37 degrees Celsius it is getting lysed because of that complement fixation. Now management, again it is acute. It can be acute transient attacks. In case of acute transient attacks, it can be supportive treatment with steroids and even transfusion. Chronic attacks should prevent exposure to the cold. Now there's a comparison between the warm and cold antibody type. This is important. This now you can write on your own. What is the nature of antibody? In warm it is IgG, cold it is IgM. Temperature, I told you, it is 37 and 4 in cold. Hemolysis, warm type, it is opsonization. That you will learn in your inflammation class. I think inflammation chapter is not taken for you. In your inflammation class, you will learn that opsonization is nothing but this IgG will get bind to this. IgG will bind to that Fc receptor of the macrophage. Okay, so here I told in the first one or second slice that IgG is getting bind to the that Fc receptor of the splenic macrophages. So that process is known as opsonization. Okay, അത് ഇൻഫ്ലമേഷൻ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും പഠിക്കും. Whereas in cold type, I told you it is complement fixation and complement mediated. And site of RBC destruction is spleen in warm, in liver in cold type. Peripheral smear you see spherocytes in warm and autoagglutination in cold type. DAT or direct Coombs test is positive with IgG antibodies. Whereas cold type, it is positive, but we have to add C3. What is C3? C3 is nothing but a complement. Okay, complement byproduct. So in cold antibodies, I showed you that this lysis is because a complement is there binding onto the RBCs till the liver. Till it reaches the liver, this complement is there, but the antibody is getting detached. So there is no role of antibody which causes lysis. Okay, so here only if you add this C3, that is anti C3 antibodies, if you add, you will get this positive direct Coombs test. Okay, so that is about autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Alloimmune we'll discuss another class, because that is also another huge topic. Okay, thank you.